I think this is going to work just fine. This is your old friend Bhagwan, coming back to you after almost 2 months. A lot of stuff going on in my life, which I've shared with you guys a few times. And with the passing of my wife on May 1st of this year, after 37 years of marriage, I have become what I guess amounts to a liberated man. My wife was really, really beat up. The universe wasn't kind to her. She would tell you that it was all absolutely necessary to wring the truly considerate man out of my ass by having to do some substantial taking care of her over the years. I mean, we did such goofy things as her ex-husband had a stroke. His wife was not able to administer anything to him because he's a bigger guy and na. So it was decided in our family that we had to bring him to our house and nurture him for at least, wound up being around 4.5, 5 months. Finally we said, lady, you gotta take your husband back, This is ridiculous. But nonetheless, I went from being the guy who fought with him over child support because his children were young when I married his ex-wife. And, obviously when that's going on, child support needs to be passed. And I'll be honest with you, I did not do a real good job on that. I bought the kids cars and things like that, but when Jerry and I got married, we just went so far down the tubes that there was nothing left. But, I stayed in touch, loved my kids, helped my ex when I could, gave her money when I could. But most importantly, she was able to handle it. She had some little help from home and just a really strong, resilient woman. Quite a lady. We actually talked for the first time. This is a wonderful thing. Okay, so I'm married to this really nice lady who is a Southern Methodist. I don't know whether that made her a relatively mild, free-flowing Christian community, or they make the Baptists look like happy folks, It was a contrast for the children, at least, because I just found out this week that they always thought I was an atheist, when in fact I was an agnostic. And some people would say, well, what's the difference? You don't believe in God. And that's not true. An atheist doesn't believe in God. He or she is hell-bent on determined on proving to you there ain't no God. An agnostic says, I don't care whether there's a God or not. In my life, it doesn't matter. In my case, when I got sufficiently pissed off at the Catholic Church to say, fuck you guys, I don't need you anymore. And in that moment, I made a covenant with myself and the universe. I'm going to spend however long it takes, even if that's forever, to hone down my skills as a right man, a guy with good values, courage, someone who's willing to stand up to whatever it is that needs standing up to. And I was going to do my best to spread love and kindness into the world without the need of God. I did a good job. I honed my skills. If you decided, well, I think I'm going to leave my religion. Now that you've been telling me by when I should look at certain things, I'm not real happy. I'm going to go find another religion. Don't find another religion. That's the problem. Let go of the religion. Keep the God. Let go of the religion. Fire your son, your religion's son. Fire Jesus. Fire Krishna. Fire Muhammad. Fire the Buddha. Fire Krishna. Jesus. Fire them all. And don't believe a thing I say to you. Except that I probably know a lot. And it would behoove you to know at least most of it. I don't expect you to come chasing me down the cracks and crevices where I need to go to find out what you need to know, because that's been my assignment. Could you help? Bet your ass. Gotta help? Nah. But eventually, one day, I hope you decide, well, you know, what would it hurt to help? Would it really hurt to write a letter to the president, to Congress, all the people who maybe are in a position to change this damn thing, and ask them, please help Bhagwan save the world, stop the killing? And then take out your checkbook and write it to Bill Gates. Send him as much as you can. We can make him believe that you guys actually give. Since what's wrong, nobody gives a shit. Remember I told you the story about the time I helped that young staff sergeant in Vietnam when I was there with him. He was losing it. All for the love of a girl, of course. You know, and all my guys I helped when I was in Vietnam, you'll get an idea who I was if you look at the movie Apocalypse Now. And there was I can see him today. I can't remember the guy's name, the actor. But he led helicopter assaults playing Charge of the Valkyrie or some nonsense. But he said that he was just there to observe. And he always knew that he was just there to observe. In order to observe, you got to put your ass in the middle of it. But I never had any sense of foreboding while I was in Vietnam. I told you, fear came up just once when a bunker came down on me. But when my staff sergeant jumped up and said, I want one of you assholes in each corner of the bunker now, whatever fear was there was gone. And once it's gone, you got it. You look at some of those guys that come out of the holes, you know, Kaysan, up there fighting for their life. This kind of margin. Stop being afraid. Not all of them. The ones that say, I'll go back. Every platoon sergeant, every second lieutenant wishes God would send him a couple of those kind of veterans who've been through that shit and still say, I'll go back. A lot of reasons why we do that, don't we, boys? A lot of reasons why you go back and put yourself in harm. One of them is because there's nothing more exciting than being in harm at that level. You know, throwing a dozen machine guns going in each direction, a few bombs and rockets and mortars and shit. Your senses get so heightened. My God, you can feel out. The martial artist who you can't get to, he can reach out. His internal radar allows him to sense 5, 10, 15, 20 feet away. It's not magic. It's skill, training, discipline, blessing. Some guys work all their life, they just don't quite get it. Doesn't mean they don't become skilled, but that grace that makes it yours. It's hard to come by. You have to surrender to the thing completely. And then that grace comes across you. So one of the things I decided I have to do is I got to get a new sensei, you know. I got a little different stuff going on. I'm going to see if I can find myself an old guy who can help me come to the grace that I believe that I need to have, so I can move fluidly through you guys, and you'll be glad I'm there, because you'll see something before that you've never seen before. This old man just sliding through the crowd, touching people. It's my job. Your job too. It's really on me, because I got to train you. Okay. So, one of the things I wanted to incorporate today, I'm going to try and do this, see if I can change this angle. It's going to be kind of hard, because I got the wrong thing. I'm looking forward to when it cools off, I can position and play with mine. So because of the way it is, you don't see the steering wheel, but I wanted to share with you this notion of doing different things simultaneously. And also the idea of working out while you're driving. I shared this with you in one of the first 10 tapes. I don't remember which one. I'm going to try and catalog that stuff for you, because I became aware of something. People who love me, who've listened to my tapes, they say, you know, Bob, one of the problems is you don't have the right titles. Your titles are not selected with the notion of having cross-touch possibilities. A title needs to be so constructed that a whole bunch of different inquiries will trigger it as a response. And I don't do good titles, good articles, good talks. But because they don't cover just one thing, it makes it kind of hard to do that. So since I'm obviously going to have time, since my wife has left, I'm going to critique all of those tapes, press the buttons. I'm going to send it to these guys, both of whom are brothers of mine. My brother John, who's 60, we're 50, 63, and my brother Mike, who's 83. These are wise and blessed men. My brother really pissed me off once when I was 6. This is the older brother. Mike was in the service, and my stepbrother, when I was sent to my dad's, when my stepfather kicked me out of my ass, Mike wasn't there. Just my younger brother John, who passed away, was there. And then Mike came home. Mike was a big guy, at least 210, maybe 220 even. I think when he came home, he might only have been 205 because he was active duty military, so he was pretty tight. And he was a bosun's mate, so they do a lot of hard physical work. So Mike was really strong. And even though when my dad married his mom, he was ambivalent toward it. And he was about a 14-year-old kid, and I was 10. So, he didn't want anything to do with it. But when he came home from the service, this is just before I bailed. So I was already 16, and I told you I was a upfront, pretty tough kid, so I knew a lot of stuff, and that made me amusing to him. And, like I say, this is just a little bit before I left. And even though the leaving was spontaneous in response to my dad blasting me in the face, I was already trying to figure out how to get out. And I saw Mike as my out. And I told him, I said, look, I'm really smart, man. I could be your number 2 guy like you wouldn't believe. You're rocked up. We keep you on that schedule. You'll be tough enough to handle whatever I can't, and I'll be tough enough to back you up no matter what you decide to take on. And let's go to California and chase girls and have a wonderful time. Well, Mikey was engaged. When you got 2 guys who want to go on a what you call a tough journey, one of those guys can't be in love with a girl because she's not going on the journey. It's the guy thing, And if he's in love with her, he's not going on it either. And that's what happened. And when he told me we're not, because we talked about it, the house was nuts for everybody, not just me. Mike was too big for my dad to want to go around, and never hit him. Wasn't his kid. Me, I was his challenge. His job was to sculpt me into a man. I'm trying to find exactly the right word, because this is the way an angry guy sculpts his kid. He was trying to sculpt me into a man that nobody would fuck with, just like he was. Not a lot of concern for happiness and joy. I knew that the first time he came to, they got divorced, him and my mom, when I was an infant. But we did see him. Not every week. That's fairy tale land. But we saw him, and it seems to me most years he got us something for Christmas. But I knew, Mike knew, my stepmom, I think everybody knew that we had to figure out a way to get me out of there because something not good was going to happen. If you have a tough kid, and you keep pissing him off, eventually one day he's going to become a tough man. And he may be really pissed off at you. You may be the single focus in his life as he builds himself up into this nasty, pissed off, and his whole objective is to beat you to death. You may remember I told you the story of the 5 guys who jumped me with baseball bats. And when you have this 6th center of consciousness going on, that's one of the reasons I was able to deflect and move away from the blows that they were raining on me, was because I could see the whole fight. Not, if you can imagine where I was, I had my head covered, and I was giving them my back because I didn't want them busting my face. Sometimes you just can't put that shit back together again. But if they don't kill you, you can put your back together again, most of the time. Especially since, I'm pretty strong. And by now, people are screaming, they're running out of beat time. Running out of beat time. So before that, I thought Mike and I were going to go, and we'd had a good time. But he pissed me off so bad when he told me no. I hit him. I'm maybe 130 pounds. He's 210 pounds of rocked up ocean spade. Just got out of the Navy. And he looked at me. You could see the disappointment in his face. And he said, "You should leave here now, kid." I did. No fucking around. Out the door. One of the handful of things in my life that I truly regret. So anyhow, let me get back. I got to stop doing that, because then I can't be doing the work on the wheel. So the work on the wheel, you remember I said to you, was based on first securing the wheel. You do that because you need your right foot to play with the pedals as necessary. You can use your left foot to wedge it against the wheel so that the wheel stays stable. That's how you see me, I'm flapping around, the wheel's locked in. And after you do it, first it'll be a little uncomfortable because you're really locking the wheel in, but once you do it, you'll get used to it, bang, it'll be fine. So, for our purposes right now, I think we only have about 15, 20 minutes left. Is I'm going to be doing stuff into the wheel. You'll be able to see the movement of this arm. Go on the premise I'm doing it the same on the other arm. And at the same time, I'm going to watch where I'm driving. I'm going to occasionally glance down to you. And I'm going to try and give you an idea that, and what you'll get is at least this arm, and you should see it flex up as it goes by, the light catches it and all that other stuff. When I was gone for 6 weeks, what happened was that my daughter required really extensive surgery, 3 operations performed at the same time, but in a normal mode there's 3 separate operations. But that whole track from her esophagus down into her stomach, there were different things going on. And I thought they were going to cut her from here to here. That's the way they used to do it. Now, same line, but they have interrupted orthoscopic small cuts. They stretch the skin to go in. So less time than it would have taken otherwise. I was probably with her for actually a month. A month and a day, I believe, is what it amounted to. And I had gotten in 2 days early because I still had some stuff to take care of in Chicago. And I was going to stay another 2 days when we got back to Chicago, because my ex-wife and I made that trip together. There was just a lot of highway driving. She doesn't like to do that. Mary wasn't able to do that. And someone had to take care of the kids. There was just some stuff that had to be done. So we figured that was going to be the best way to go. So one of the wonderful little byproducts of that my ex-wife for 6 weeks. It's a wonderful time. I've not been able to get my wife to talk to me since I went off to save the world. And you can probably understand that. You know, all you women. Here, let me tell you what happened to me, and see how you'd react to it. I don't know the night, because it came to me when I was meditating, and when I'm meditating, I have no sense of time. I normally don't have any sense of time, because for me it's a continuum. Even the sleep part is a continuum. So there is no breakup, it flows. My last master teacher, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, he was the baby. He died in his early 70s, I think. I'm gotta firm up all that information, because these are little kind of notes that will intrigue people. So, you remember I told you that my first out of the given batch, Jesus, my dad and my grandmother given to me, master teachers given to me. Their job was to get me prepared for Kenkais. So now you would think that, all to get you prepared for Jesus. No, Jesus is just a tool. Krishna, just a tool. Buddha, just a tool. You're the guy. Those guys were there to create a system that would take all of your ancestors, all of my ancestors, and carry them to this point. I think today is September 15, 16, 17, I don't know, and I don't care. But it's sometime in September in the year 2020, and the whole world is exploding around you with wonder. With wonder. Your master, and by master I mean whoever the Son of God is, that you attribute the founding and source of the teachings that make up your religion. That dynamic is always the same. Guy comes around, becomes aware, God enlightens him to the point to where he knows more than the rest of the teachers. That's the first thing. So that must mean I'm saying to all you teachers, come and get me. I'm challenging the whole bunch of you. Not to crash. I want to first honor you by recognizing who you are, and then I want you to come and help me do this. It'll be a domino effect. All I need is one of you to say, what do you want me to do, Bhagwan? Point me to your people. Let's point them straight to God. Get out of their way. Because now, let's say I come from a Catholic background, so I can speak pretty authoritatively about how it goes in the Catholic Church. Not so much in the Jewish faith, or Islam, or the Buddhist faith, but I know about those guys. And I know about the things that we have in common, and the things that we have are separate. The things that are worth anything that are separate are the mystical parts of each faith. The Hasidic Jews, they got some magic going back in those communities. Everybody, Islam in the back corner, Buddhism in the back corner, Christians in the back corner, mystical guys. So the church kind of wraps them in an envelope, a protective envelope, because they don't want you to think that priests are mystics. But some of them are really power in each faith. Okay, let's take the typical faith. Let's take the Christian faith. Want to find out about the Christian faith? One of the interesting sidebars of it, and it applies to all faiths actually, was a play called Status Quo Vadis. And in Status Quo Vadis, the star is a bartender in a kind of an upscale bar, let's say in Manhattan. In order to have the kind of upscale bar where this would be going on, got to be a big city with high energy. It's a big city, high energy Manhattan. They got my sister there, and if my sister's there, they got high energy packing in. She's a Christian, wonderful girl, wonderful girl. I keep banging at her. I'm going to go after her aggressively now. She should be here helping me, and maybe she will be. I'll treat her like a sweetheart, you know. Oh my goodness, my goodness. So anyhow, I got this 6 weeks that I'm with my ex and my daughter. What the hell's going on? The road's kind of open. And my other daughter, my youngest daughter, since, you know, I flew into Chicago, and then we drove to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and came back to Chicago. My intention is to fly out. I'm going to go Tuesday. We came in Saturday, late Saturday night. Now I'm planning to leave Tuesday. Gives me a couple days to try and get a couple more things that I wanted to address. Sorry, guys, I got a wild hair in my nose. I have nothing to trim it while I'm driving. So, my daughter, who lives in Louisiana, calls and says, "I'm going to come and spend a little time with you." I said, "Oh, great!" So I stayed an extra week because I was going to leave on Tuesday. I left the next Tuesday. She didn't get there till Thursday, but it was good. We had a really nice day. And now, because the structure's changed since Jerry has passed, they finally began to understand, number one, how beat up she was. Because they could never understand why I couldn't do this or why I couldn't do that. And the answer was simple: I couldn't leave my wife. And there was no second base. I was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh line of defense for that woman. That really wasn't my previous family's concern. But it impacted them because it denied me a whole lot of mobility. So anyhow, so that's gone. And I've decided that now it's just truth. And I explained to my wife, my ex-wife, that, you know, since I, oh God, did I tell her? I don't remember how I tried to present it to her. The night I became aware, I went to the top of the mountain. I don't know if you can understand what that is, and I'm not going to try and talk about it now. But you remember Dr. King? One of the most powerful things that he said, and spiritual people understood it immediately. He said, "I have been to the top of the mountain." And there, my master teacher, my last master teacher, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, came to be with me. We came up the side of the mountain. Cheering and yelling and waving was just like a celebration as far as you could see. He embraced me. He kissed me. For I love. And said, "You're the man now. So the first thing I would offer you, and your Rajneeshis, you'll be happy. I need some Rajneeshis." Our master, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, was probably the best meditation teacher in the history of the world. And I know a bunch of guys are going to jump up and down, but let's concede that that's an opinion that is shared by many, but not all, because there's been some really wonderful guys out there. Rajneesh, his job was to catalog all of the significant master teachers through antiquity, so that if you really wanted to find out what Mahavira had to say, you could go get a book by Rajneesh that was dedicated to the things that he said. I think his most powerful book that I read was The Mustard Seed, and that was explanations of the teachings of Jesus Christ. every Christian in the world should read that book. As a matter of fact, the next time I'm going to do it. One of the big deals for people is, I'm going to say this in a minute, big stories that they like, that the ministers love to tell the story, is about the shepherd who lost the sheep and went out and found it, and everybody rejoiced. Well, of course, that's nonsense. So all you guys who live in closed communities, well, this is, it doesn't matter where it is. When you get down to where there's a locally collected group of you, you ascribe great uniqueness to your religion. It's like none other. It's yours. But the truth of it is they're all the same, aren't they? They want to bring you close to God. They want to teach you how to love, how to care, how to be compassionate, how to be willing to put yourself on the line for other people. All those things that everybody you would like to know would be doing for you. You need to be doing it too. I had a favorite Mexican restaurant out here in Jacksonville where I live. And while it wasn't great, it was best I found local. I went there one day, I'm going to get some food. And as I pull up, there's this big black SUV sitting next to me, and the hood is up. And this black lady comes up to me and says, "Excuse me, sir, could you help us?" And I said, "Sure, what do you need?" She says, I need a jump on my car. Yeah, it's no problem. I said, I got cables. So, I go, I'm jumping on it right away. She's got a grandmother and two small kids in this car, and it's 100 degrees. It's Florida, for Christ's sake. So, I got to keep going back to the wheel, We got to rack me up, guys, and I'll tell you about that. Probably not in this, but we're almost done. I'm telling you a story about the black lady. She says, thank you. We've been here for so long. I said, what do you mean you've been here for so long? Oh, yeah, she says, no one has offered to help us. A lot of this place called Florida is filled with racist redneck fucks. They're beautiful people. But for reasons that they have no knowledge of, they hate black people. Because their grandfather hated black people. And their great-great-great-grandfather hated black people. And we've already agreed on the fact that all those people who lived that far back didn't know shit compared to what's going on now. Some of the most educated people in the world are a different color than you are. Some of the people in the world closest to God are a different color than you are. They speak a different language than you do. Doesn't minimize who they are a single iota. So if you still look through colored glasses, break them. Don't try and wean yourself. Oh, I'll get a little lighter, get a little lighter, get a little lighter. Tell you a story. Most of my life I spent in Chicago. And I was, I think I might have gone too far. Hang on here. Shit.